Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Village of Ridgewood, Village Council. This is a regular public meeting. The date is May 11th, 2022, and the time is 8:01 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilwoman Perrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton is absent. Councilman Vagianos.
Here.
And Mayor Newton.
Here. Please join us for the flag salute. I ask everyone to join us in a moment of silence for our men and women serving our nation, all of our first responders, and especially in remembrance of Mary Letty, longtime Ridgewood Village employee who passed away this Saturday. Our sincerest condolences to Mary's family. She was our friend. She was our colleague. She will be remembered for her smile, her warmth, and her helpfulness. Mary will always, always be remembered by family, friends, colleagues, and the many village residents that she interacted with, and she will be missed. Thank you. I move the bills, claims, and vouchers and statement of funds on hand as of April 30th, 2022 be accepted as submitted.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. Before we approve the minutes, I do have to amend, let me just find that, on the, hang on one second. Sorry. Oh, sorry, I lost my, oh, there we go. Okay, good. It appears to be on page 8. During public comments, there's an interaction by Mr. Hallaby and myself. Mr. Hallaby speaks about Franklin being repaved. At the end of the paragraph, it states that Mayor Nutz had handed him a piece of paper with numbers to call Bergen County. In fact, I handed Mr. Hallaby a document he requested as it relates to the financing of the master plan. And Mr. Hallaby thanked me, and that should be amended to read that way. So with that, I move that the Village Council minutes of April 13th, 2022, as amended, having been
amended first. You have
sorry.
to amend it first. You have to
oh,
vote
I'm
on
sorry. I
it.
have to make a motion to amend it.
Correct,
So a
correct.
motion to amend the minutes.
Second.
Okay, hold on one second.
Someone has to move it. Oh, I move it. Go ahead.
Yeah, just one sec. Okay. Perrin, this is to amend.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, and now I move that the Village Council minutes of April 13th, 2022, as amended, having been reviewed by the Village Council, now available in the Village Clerk's office, be approved as amended.
Second.
Okay. Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. And now we have a number of proclamations. Our first proclamation proclaims May 15th, 2022, I'm sorry, through May 15th through May 21st, 2022 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Before Councilwoman Reynolds reads that, I just want to acknowledge our emergency medical services, our EMS team in the back. So thank you, everyone, and we really appreciate your service to our community. And with that, our Councilwoman Reynolds will read this proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by titling Rising to the Challenge as the theme of the 2022 Emergency Medical Services Week. And whereas the theme of Emergency Medical Services Week will serve to educate the residents of the Village of Ridgewood about the EMS profession, which is a call to have responsibility to care for the community and for fellow EMS providers that doesn't end when the shift ends. And whereas the title, Rising to the Challenge, conveys an incredibly powerful message about the EMS profession and the honorable men and women who serve within it. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim the week of May 15th, 2022 through May 21st, 2022 as Emergency Medical Services Week, and encourages the community to support Ridgewood Emergency Medical Services as well as all of their programs, ceremonies, and activities.
So if you all want to just wait a minute after we finish our proclamations, I have this one for you, so we can just do a photo up on the floor, if that's okay with everyone? Okay, great. Councilwoman Reynolds will once again read the next proclamation, proclaiming May as Mental Health Awareness Month.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas West Bergen Mental Health Care was founded in 1963 as a child guidance clinic and today is a full-range community mental health center serving over 3,000 people a year. And whereas Bergen Medical Mental Health Care offers a wide range of services that are designed to meet the needs of the people and families that it serves. And whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being. And whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives. And whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions. And whereas there is a strong body of research that supports specific tools that all Americans can use to better handle challenges and protect their health and well-being. And whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation. And whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen shares the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim May 2022 as National Mental Health Awareness Month, and calls upon the citizens of the Village of Ridgewood to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, educate our citizens on the steps they can take to prevent their mental health, and recognize the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Baggianos will read a proclamation proclaiming June as Pride Month. Councilman?
Yes, I'm very proud to be able to read this proclamation. Whereas the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood recognizes the human rights of individuals everywhere and embraces the rights of all people to live their lives freely in a world that is accepting and respectful. And whereas for far too long, members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning community have been marginalized, dehumanized, and demoralized for merely living in a manner consistent with our nation's fundamental beliefs of life, liberty, and freedom for all. And whereas sadly and regrettably, persons of the LGBTQ+ community have faced prejudice and discrimination, and too many have had to hide or deny their sexual orientation in order to keep their jobs or to live safely in their communities. And whereas the Village Council recognizes there are still many challenges before us, and we must stand together, firm in our resolve to reject acts of prejudice and acts of hatred and violence against any person for any reason. And whereas senseless hatred, bigotry, and intolerance has no place in society, and it is incumbent that village leaders and all residents foster greater empathy, understanding, and caring for each other. And whereas members of the LGBTQ plus community have made important and lasting contributions to our village, state, and nation by enriching our lives and helping to encourage and develop a more inclusive and thoughtful world. And whereas members of the LGBTQ plus community include our acquaintances, our coworkers, our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones, and our family members. And each and every one deserves respect, understanding, compassion, and the right to love whoever they choose. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood embraces all of our brothers and sisters, appreciating our similarities and celebrating our differences. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim June 2022 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month, and encourages village residents to celebrate our diversity and recognize the need to embrace all members of our community with love and acceptance. I just want to say, I am so proud to be a member of a community that celebrates Pride Month. I think it's a wonderful thing. It's a relatively new thing around here. We're still getting all the wheels on the train the right way. I want to apologize to the community that we failed to include someone from the Rainbow community on the planning committee. But I assure you, that will never happen again. We want your voices involved in everything we do, whether it's planning for Pride, running the Village Council, planting trees, everything. The same as everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Perrin will proclaim June 5th as 2022 as National Cancer Survivors Day.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas today, 16.9 million Americans are cancer survivors thanks to advances in early detection, treatment, and research. Whereas surviving cancer can leave a host of problems in its wake with physical, emotional, and financial hardships, often persisting for years after diagnosis. Treatment with challenges including access to cancer specialists and promising new treatments, denial of health and life insurance coverage, financial hardships long after the initial diagnosis and treatment, employment problems, psychological struggles, and the strain on personal relationships, and the profound fear of recurrence. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood has an active and productive cancer survivor population, demonstrating that cancer survivors can live active, productive lives, even though they still face many challenges. Whereas communities all across America will be celebrating National Cancer Survivors Day on Sunday, June 5th, 2022, as part of the world's largest annual cancer survivor event. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim June 5th, 2022 as National Cancer Survivors Day in the Village of Ridgewood, and urges all residents to join in this joyous celebration of life.
Thank you. And now Councilwoman Perrin will read a proclamation proclaiming June 3rd, 2022 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Whereas each day, 91 Americans are killed by gun violence and countless others are injured, with Americans being 25 times more likely to be murdered with guns than people in other developed countries. And whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is one of the highest responsibilities of the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, which is why support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people. And whereas June 2nd, 2022 would have been the 25th birthday of Hadia Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later. To help honor Hadia and the 91 Americans whose lives are cut short, and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition organization has designated June 7th, 2022 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to hunters when they are out in the woods, and orange is also a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to help keep firearms out of the wrong hands, as well as encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim June 7th, 2022 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the Village of Ridgewood, and encourages all residents of the Village of Ridgewood to support the efforts in their community to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Before we do this photo op, and thank you again for your service to our community, I'm just going to respond to the comment by Councilman Vagianos. I think it is terribly, terribly sad and unfortunate that Councilman thinks that we should ask individuals their sexual orientation or whether or not they're members of a LGBTQ plus community in order for them to participate on a committee that is organizing a celebration for Pride Month. First, I don't think it's legal for me to ask that question. And second, I can assure everyone that the community, all communities are well represented on the Pride Committee. It is so sad to me that last week a hit job, what I like to call a hit job, a political hit job, occurred on this dais to undermine the work of people who truly love and care about this community and want to be inclusive and organize a celebration for our friends, our family, and our loved ones who are members of the LGBTQ plus community. It is so sad, and I really resent and regret that Councilman Vagianos thinks this behavior is appropriate. Now for our photo op.
gun violence? June 7th. I don't know how it got in my packet.
There were two of them.
Oh.
Is it June 3rd?
Oh,
So do you want
okay.
to just correct that?
Yeah. I want to correct the Gun Violence Day. It's actually June 3rd, not June 7th.
And that's National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Yes.
So thank you again, Councilwoman. You did an amazing job. Okay. Right now, we'll go to comments from the public. It feels like we've been here for 2 days already. Sorry. Comments from the public, not to exceed 3 minutes per person for a total of 40 minutes. State your name and address for the record, please.
Rorick Hallaby, 1 Franklin Avenue, Shedler. I reviewed the ad hoc committee presentation of the Village Council meeting of December 2017. I can tell you this was a recommendation, not a plan. A plan, and I'm sorry that Michael Seaton isn't here, would have a budget and a timeline. It would have a detailed description of the project. What I see here is primarily a description of a mini playing field, basically. Does anyone on the dais have any idea of the budgeted cost of the project other than the reconciliation prepared by Bob Rooney showing the $7 million appropriation? And incidentally, it took me a couple of years for us to get it. Well, I don't think so. One other thing, does anyone on the dais have any idea what the Shedler House would be used for and what the operating costs will be going forward? I don't think so. Franklin Avenue, for the record, I will give Heather, Eileen is not here, a copy of my correspondence with Bergen County of the status of the repaving of Franklin Avenue and the traffic signs. Boy, what a well-run organization that is, Bergen County. Within a week, I got all the details that I really wanted when I've been calling, and finally, the last meeting, Heather said, oh, it'll be done this year. Finally, they answered with the details. The drone. What assurance will we get from Police Chief Lufke that the drone will not be abused? A couple of years ago, a local blog made mention of someone accessing the CTV and reporting on a private couple walking together in Vets Field. I wrote to Police Chief Lufke to complain and was told how difficult it would be to track the source of the leak. I mean, we're living in Russia when that happens. A question to Mr. Rogers. As village attorney, what will you do to ensure our right to privacy is not abused? Now, last week's meeting, the village council hit an all-time low with last week's meeting. What an embarrassment to the residents of the village. Isn't it high time you rotated the chairmanship of the village council meetings? Now, I want the clock to stop because I need to address the comment that Susan Knudsen made about handing me that envelope, which was one of the weirdest things I've ever gone through. I did thank you, but I thank people for this is how my mother taught me. In fact, at the meeting of April 27th, I said the following things. I believe Susan Knudsen was not here. At the last meeting, Susan Knudsen handed me an envelope which contained the cost so far of a master plan. Okay. It was in partial response to my request for information.
I'm sorry, Mr. Howell.
No, that has to go over because you mentioned my name. I'm sorry, you mentioned my name, and you stated something that is not fair.
If you're responding to me, you were just stating your name. It was only I was correcting the minutes. I know,
but the minutes were not corrected properly.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I need to be able to address that.
Go ahead.
And not on my time.
I handed you an envelope. Go ahead.
Yeah. Now, and I formally returned the envelope to the village clerk, as the information belongs to the residents of the village and not just to me. It should be posted on the website. I thought it was very, very weird being in fact, people called up and said, what did the...
Okay, Mr. Hallaby, thank you. Thank you.
Don't interrupt me.
Point
when
of order,
I have
Mr.
to,
Hallaby.
you made a point.
Mr. Hallaby, point of order. Enough.
Stop using point of order because you stopped using point of order. You use my name, and I have to be able to address that. Okay? You use my name
Mr.
in a very
Hallaby,
erroneous
we have
way,
a-
and for the record,
Mis-
I need to correct that.
Mr.
Okay?
Hallaby?
You can't just you throw this
All right.
point of order.
Okay.
I call a point of order on you. Yeah, I can.
All right.
And don't laugh.
Okay, Mr.
Okay.
Hallaby, thank you.
Well, I can't thank you.
Okay,
This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
okay. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Mahmoud Hamza, 528 Amsterdam Avenue. I'm sorry, but I'm here to ask you to please reconsider your decisions regarding the pedestrian mall. I cannot deny it, but I am in favor of it. I enjoy it, and I cannot see Ridgewood without it. But I also do emphasize with business owners on the village, the west side, and on Franklin Avenue. Do you remember Emile, the owner of Le Café Royal? I loved his crepe and I enjoyed his hot chicken soup. Before he went out of business, he told me that the pedestrian mall was harmful to his business. I heard the same thing from another restaurant owner who was really angry. Both said that the pedestrian mall only served the stores between Oak and the train station. The same sentiment was shared by a business owner of Franklin Avenue. I think we all agree that Ridgewood Business District extends from Maple Avenue to Pomander Walk. The center of the business district is really Wellesley Square. And that we care about all the business and property owners regardless of where they are situated. But I also think that business pays a lot of money to get the foot traffic into where they are. No doubt that the pedestrian mall did just that. I know it from experience. Some of my friends would not have come to Ridgewood for dinner if it were not for the pedestrian mall. So while we're waiting for the Ridgewood master plan that is supposed to address how we foresee the future of Ridgewood, the challenge is for us all to find ways to get the foot traffic wandering to the west side, exploring the stores and restaurants on Franklin Street Avenue, and venturing into wonderful retail stores in the village. We have so many smart, talented, and innovative people in our village who can face this challenge. I can see us, those who love the pedestrian mall, working with those who had been hurt by it, working together with the Guild and the Chamber of Commerce to come up with good ideas beneficial to all. We did that in the past, and we can do it now. After all, it does not make sense to kill the goose which is laying golden eggs. It makes more sense to find ways to spread the wealth from the golden eggs she is laying for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Siobhan Cram, Winnipeg, 274 Ivy Place. I want to echo everything Mahmoud just said because the pedestrian mall is a serious loss. But I'm here to talk about, let me think, a combination of things that have been happening and something that I've brought up a couple times. You guys are a council of 5 and you're a body of equals, and lately it hasn't been feeling that way. I've brought this up before. I think it's time for you guys to really consider a little more self-regulation as a body and begin rotating the chair. As many of you know, there's been some unfortunate incidents here over the past year. I've experienced it, some mean-spirited, harsh, dishonest comments from the dais. The liberal use of point of order is really putting our village at risk. Recently, there was a lawsuit in the Midwest called the Zip It lawsuit, where the president of the Board of Education told a mother in the district to zip it. She sued the district, and it was a violation of the First Amendment rights. I think you're way too liberal with point of order. I think point of order is when things are out of control, out of hand, mean-spirited, and targeted. For me, I often tell you I'm a mother in this community, but I'm a daughter. I'm a daughter who, where Calabi was a father. I am a child to his adult, and it's uncomfortable when that happens. It's uncomfortable for me, and it should be uncomfortable for you because we're locally governed. And so what I'm really hoping this council would do is talk about yourselves, maybe in private, maybe in closed session, but you're not self-regulating. You are a body of equal. There is a constant heavy flex on this council. It's a flex from the majority to silence the two minority members. It's a flex to make people standing here, whether through body language or point of order, whatever that means. And I think the time has come for you guys to self-regulate just a bit more. It's often hard when you're up here and things are said after it's shut down, but I want to be clear. You know, many things are said, but last week, a committee that I served on gave many hundreds of dollars for was called a disgrace. And you don't want to make a big deal about it, but you also don't want to let it lie because people are watching that. It's very uncomfortable when the chair decides to do this and the rest of you don't self-regulate. So point of order can be called from you, it's Robert's, and it can be called from us. And I think if you guys don't start to self-regulate, there's going to be a big problem. And the problem is you have 3 people from the public here speaking. And the fact is a lot of people don't want to come because they are saying the liberal use of point of order, the flexing from the dais is becoming uncomfy. So in addition to discounting and cutting off hybrid access, you're now making the few people who show up here uncomfortable. I'm not saying I agree with Rurik, but it could be made to be more comfortable.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good evening.
Good evening. Tom Thurston, 477 Beverly Road. I'm here tonight to talk about trees, not the tree ordinance, but trees. I live on Beverly Road. I think many of you are aware of that road. We've got the magnificent canopy of oak trees and large 100-year-old, however old they are, trees. Over the years, I've been there, I think, over 20 years now. We've lost some trees here and there due to age and disease and things. But lately, it seems like the pace of the trees we're losing is picking up. We had a neighbor take one down the other day. Rightfully, he had an arborist come in. He had another tree on his property, had the tree on the street surveyed. It was diseased. It came down. Last Monday, my wife called me at work, said there were trucks outside taking down 2 trees, their neighbors next door. So what I did the next day, I called Nancy Bigos at Shade Tree and said, Nancy, do you know what's going on? Who's doing this? And she said, I'm not sure. Let me check and I'll call you. I'll get back to you. The next morning, I received a phone call from Declan Madden, I believe, the village arborist. And as a little side note, both of them were professional, so nice, gave me information, and so it was great. I know sometimes people take shots when at some of our employees, which are unfair. So that was very nice to be reached out to immediately. Declan and I had a great phone call, I thought, for about 20 minutes, maybe even more, so he was very generous with his time. We talked about tree removal and things, and et cetera, and I hit him with not some tough questions, but just some why, how come these trees are magnificent, we're losing them. I think I actually walked the street, I want to say going back, it looks like we had maybe 40, 45 trees. There's maybe 35 now. So we've lost a lot. Some have been replanted. We all know it takes a long time for them to regrow. But what I would like to bring forth to the council, or maybe to the, I don't know, maybe Shade Tree or whoever, I'm not sure who the right person is if there's going to be a tree that Declan and his team have decided or think is diseased and needs to come down, could we put in place a notification system where maybe the neighbor, not even just the direct in front of the house in front of the trees, but maybe to the side, I don't know the distance, and have a chance to maybe bring in a second opinion, an arborist, which I did. I had an arborist come to the house and look at the trees. He did not disagree with what Declan was doing, but he did say to me, he said, it's really an art. It's not necessarily a science. That his estimate was 75% of all trees, especially the older growth trees, have some sort of decay in them. So there are other things that go into it. So I was thinking that if we could add to the process, if our arborist finds a tree that he thinks, if the tree's dead, I don't think anybody's going to argue that, but where he thinks there's a tree that might be at risk and pose a safety hazard, if the neighbors were notified, and at the neighbor's expense, if wanted to bring in an arborist, outside professional, to take a look and maybe have a conversation with Declan and perhaps save a tree or two. And if I could get 10 more seconds, here's my other concern.
Okay.
I read the other day that, I think it was Michael said in an article, we spent $110,000 on tree removal.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. You know what you can do? Just send an email, just get my email off the
Okay.
website. Send me an email, and I will put you in touch with, I think, Councilwoman Parent and the Deputy Mayor handle all of that. So
Okay.
if you want to just send me an email, and I'll make sure it goes to them.
Great.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to close public comment?
Oh, yeah, right, I'm sorry, we'll close public comment.
I think that's an interesting proposition to have the chair. Oh, I'm not on. Okay. I think it might be an interesting proposition to rotate the chair. So can we put that on the agenda for discussion at our next work session?
I think it's by statute that the council elects the mayor, and that the mayor serves for the term of 2 years. So I'll find the statute and send it to everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so now we're just going to go through a couple of issues that were raised during public comment, and I'm going to be clear. I was asked to provide, at a planning board meeting, I was asked to provide the resident, who has now left, with information regarding the cost to the master plan. I said I would get that. The same resident then demanded I work within his time frame, and I said, kindly file an Oprah request. Then the resident complained about having to file an Oprah request, which is procedure. But still, I was nice enough to get that information and provide it to the resident. And then the resident came to this microphone and decided that that's still not good enough. So I'm unclear as to how nice a person can be, or going over and above. It wasn't my job to provide information to the resident. I did it. I was nice to do it. He could have filed the Oprah. He chose to wait for me. I did that. And I just want to talk about point of order. Just like the last gentleman that spoke, we say at the beginning of public comment, 3 minutes. We have a meeting to run. We have business to take care of. And we appreciate it when people adhere to the rules and just follow them. It's you know, the beeper goes off. I gave a couple of extra seconds, wrap it up, but still, it never is enough. And so I don't know how long past 3 minutes someone gets to speak. Is it 10 more minutes? Is it 2 days? I don't know. But we have to have some rules and structure. So with that.
We just want to, if I may, Mayor, respond to one issue that came up. I think my microphone's on. With regard to the drones and protecting privacy of individuals, the Attorney General's office sets guidelines with regard to use of any of the cameras, whether it be a body cam, a car, or a police vehicle camera, or the use of the drones. And they can only be guided by those. The use of the drone can only be guided by those guidelines. They are meant to do what they can to promote public safety and at the same time preserve the privacy of individuals, and that there's no improper or illegal intrusion. I do not have oversight over those guidelines and the implementation of those guidelines, but those guidelines are available. And if someone wanted to open them, I can also contact the chief of police to see if maybe those guidelines, if and when we do go ahead with the drone and get the drone up and running, if that happens, those guidelines should be available to the public so they know what they're going to face. So we can take care of it that way.
AG guidelines are generally available online.
They're already in place. It's just we may not, depending upon what action's taken with regard to it and its use. But
Okay. Thank you, Matt. All right, with that, we're going to go on to the resolutions. I think we're...
I have manager's report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Do your report.
Okay. Ridgewood recently passed a tree ordinance that requires a permit to remove trees on all private property, and replacement of those trees or a monetary fee towards planting trees in another location. All village offices have new telephone extensions. Please listen to the full menu, or you may dial 0 at any time to be connected to our receptionist. We also have those new extensions on our website. There will be a presentation by the Municipal Alliance Committee, What Every Parent Needs to Know, Vaping, Save Your Breath. This is a virtual event which will be held live. Timothy Shoemaker is a motivational speaker and prevention expert. It will be on Wednesday, May 25th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Both the CDC and U.S. Surgeon General have desperately labeled teen vaping an epidemic. If your child is approaching 5th grade or higher, you can no longer afford to ignore this potentially devastating threat to your family's future. Many parents express uncertainty and confusion on this critical topic, and he'll help break through that. Admission is free, but you do have to register at www.sybridgewood.eventbrite.com. Graden Pool badge sales. There are preseason in-person badge sales 2 Saturdays, May 14th and May 21st, from 10 a.m. to noon at the Graden Pool badge office. Please bring documentation of residency. The grand opening day for Graden Pool is Saturday, June 4th, from 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. There are still job openings for certified lifeguards and camp counselors. Ridgewood Parks and Recreation Summer Day Camp is for grades 1 through 6. That's being offered weekdays, Tuesday, June 28th to Friday, August 5th. Register on Community Pass, and in addition, August mini camps are registering now as well on Community Pass. The Bergen County Utilities Authority Household Hazardous Waste Collection is scheduled for this Saturday, May 14th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Bergen County Camp Guad Mountain Reservation in Mahwah. It's free for Bergen County residents. It's being held rain or shine, and it will close promptly at 3 p.m. An ID is required to show that you live in Bergen County. No commercial vehicles are allowed. For further information, go to www.bcua.org. Tomorrow, the Chamber of Commerce Spring Sidewalk Sale Days begin. You can shop for new spring fashions, look for bargains, and enjoy dining at a new or favorite restaurant. It will be held May 12th through the 14th. And on May 12th, we also have the return of Touch a Truck from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's being held at Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. The event provides young children an opportunity to get close and touch several of our large village vehicles, as well as smaller equipment, including a fire department truck, police car, garbage truck, water department trucks, emergency services trucks, and an ambulance. There are also children's activities, story time, as well as giveaways from several departments. Sunday, May 15th, the Ridgewood Guild will sponsor a music fest for a local nonprofit, Team, T-E-E-E-M, the Empathy, Equality, Entrepreneurship Mission, in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square from noon to 8 p.m. This is a family-friendly day out with great food, drink, and live music. It will feature a variety of food trucks, a beer and wine garden, face painting for children, and listening to live music by extraordinary musicians. The cost is $20 for each adult, and it's free for students. All proceeds benefit team humanitarian projects throughout the world. To purchase tickets, go to www.benefitconcertforteam.com. If you're interested in an outing to the 2022 Philadelphia Flower Show, Ridgewood Parks and Recreation has a few tickets left for the day trip scheduled for June 13th. You may register for this on Community Pass or in person at the stable at 259 North Maple Avenue. We're seeking local superheroes to be school crossing guards to join the Ridgewood team. If you're interested in working a flexible schedule of 2 hours a day on school days, please contact the area supervisor at 201-969-7182. Our Village Council upcoming meetings are broadcast live from the Village Hall courtroom on the Village website and Channel 34 on FiOS. They're also available on YouTube. Our Village Council work sessions are May 25th and June 1st and June 22nd, and our Village Council public meeting will be held on June 8th. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Perrin.
Thank you, Mayor. The Chamber of Commerce met this morning. They have 8 new members, and there's going to be a grand opening of Thorn and Roots, which is a health food restaurant out on the highway, and that's going to be May 24th at 5 o'clock. We also had a lively discussion about parking downtown, including whether merchants could prepay for their customers parking in the garage and whether employees are still parking on the street rather than in the garage. And that went on for about an hour. And then we also had a rather heated discussion about the pedestrian plaza. Feed the Front Lines is also hoping to restart its efforts in June. Green Ridgewood met on Thursday night. I had to miss the meeting, but they will be exhibiting at the Ridge School block party. I missed that meeting because I went to the Bergen County Historic Preservation Awards event, which presented awards to various efforts around the county. And Ridgewood's James Rose Center was honored because of a renovation of the EarthCam landscaping that James Rose did in Upper Saddle River. If you don't know the James Rose Center, it is one of the jewels of Ridgewood. James Rose was an architect who built his own home at the corner of East Ridgewood Avenue and Southern Parkway. It's reopening for tours on May 15th, Tuesday through Sundays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and it's a wonderful place in its own right. Open Space Committee meets next week, but in the interim, we have a park walk on the Dunham Trail this Saturday at 10 a.m. The rain date, in case it rains, is going to be Saturday the 21st. Janet Fricke will be leading the tour. We will meet at the bridge on Spring Street, and please wear long pants and long sleeves. It is tick season. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Vagianos?
Thank you, Susan. On May 6th, we met with members of the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools, and I'm very, very happy to report that Tom Gorman informed us that we are almost back to normal in our schools. He said we're about 95% there. We're having plays, sporting activities, and things are running generally well. And he credits this to the fact that out of 500 teachers, only 10 are unvaccinated, and they are tested weekly. At the high school, 95% of the students are vaccinated. The middle school, 85% are vaccinated. And at the elementary schools, about 50% are vaccinated. And so at this point, there's no need for any more masks. They monitor the situation on a daily basis, but it seems to be running generally well. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Councilman Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor. I haven't had any committee meetings since last week, but I just wanted to mention a few things. Has nothing to do with the council, but Ridgewood is having a townwide garage sale on May 21st. If anybody is interested in joining and you belong to Facebook, I think you can just kind of Google Facebook Ridgewood townwide garage sale to see how to sign up. If you're not on Facebook, you can email me and I can try and hook you up to the person that's doing it. Second thing is I want to give a big shout out to the Parks Department, Nancy Bigos, Matt Andrula, and the people that work with him. They have been doing a lot of work in preparation for Project Pride Day, which is Sunday, May 22nd. We really could not have done it without their help. So everything is going to be ready to plant by then. Also, they have enlisted the, what is it called? I got to put my glasses on. The Signal Department. Signal Department has been painting the lampposts at Van Ness Square in the park because we're going to be putting not hanging baskets, but really clamp baskets around the poles. So I want to thank Signal Department and Rich Tarleton for getting the lampposts ready. I can't wait. I think it's going to look great. And then the last thing, but of course not least, is I want to wish my husband a happy birthday. I appreciate his his patience with me, and we'll be home soon to celebrate his birthday with the family. And that's it.
Very good, thank you, and happy birthday, Jim Reynolds. Okay.
Just before we begin, is there another birthday on the dais going on right now?
There could be.
There could be.
Is it your birthday, Paul?
Is it your husband's birthday today?
It is.
Yeah, I have found so many people have come out of the woodwork and are celebrating their birthday on my birthday, which I'm so flattered about. I just think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Thank you so much. Wait a minute. It was a tear.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Had I known, we've brought cake and flowers and treats and, all right, my turn. Once again, the 112th Annual Ridgewood 4th of July celebration is on Monday, July 4th, 2022. And again, as I said last week, Let Freedom Ring is celebrating the history of our great nation, highlighting the importance of freedom for all, defined as a statement that the ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness should be spread across the earth and allowed to flourish. Please visit ridgewoodjuly4.net for more information. Welcome home to Ridgewood's Elliott Cohen and Everything Bagels at 205 East Ridgewood Avenue. Yesterday's grand opening was celebrated with bagels, coffee, cannolis, rainbow cookies, and more. Special thanks to Jennifer Aiden of, I guess that's the Real Housewives of New Jersey, for helping us celebrate in true New Jersey style. Jennifer was just a sport, and we had a really great time, and everyone enjoyed the day. Historic Preservation Commission meets tomorrow evening. There are 2 applications on deck for 2 new businesses. Nature Sparkle, located at 67 East Ridgewood Avenue, and Stretch Lab, which will be located at 204 East Ridgewood Avenue. So we look forward to seeing those are applications for signage, and I'm sure they'll be hopefully put up very quickly, and successful businesses once again coming to Ridgewood. Now we can go on to resolutions.
Actually, there's one thing I forgot to say. The Central Business District Advisory Committee has 2 vacancies, and business owners can apply to be a member of the committee until May 16th. The form is online on the village website. I forgot to say that.
Okay.
So,
Very good, thank you. Business owners, sign up. Pam's running the show over there. She's got it under control. Very good, let's go.
Okay, Ridgewood Water, there's no introduction or public hearing of ordinances. We go to resolutions. The following resolutions, number 22-155 through 22-156, will be adopted by a consent agenda with 1 vote by the village council. They will be read by title only. Authorized pre-application to the NJDEP Green Acres Program, major diversion, Linwood Avenue replacement well. Authorized pre-application to NJDEP Green Acres Program, minor diversion, Linwood Avenue replacement well. May I have a motion?
so moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 3907.
May I have a second?
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3907 by title?
An ordinance to establish an absence policy for volunteers serving on Ridgewood boards, committees, and commissions.
I move that ordinance 3907 be adopted on first reading and that June 8th, 2022 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3905 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3905?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic, at Section 265-56, Schedule 6, prohibited turns at intersections.
The public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
I move that
Wait,
ordinance...
wait.
No.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3905 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3906 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3906?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 165 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, garbage, rubbish, refuse, and recycling at Article 2, waste collection.
Okay, the public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3906 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. Moving on to resolutions.
The following resolutions, number 22-157 through 22-173, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the Village Council. They will be read by title only. Award contract, disposal of ground, yard waste, and grass clippings, Lakeview Compost Facility. Title 59 approval, tree removals, various locations. Award contract, 2022 tree removals, various locations. Award contract under state contract, unmanned aerial vehicle drone, Police Department. Award contract under state contract, Mason dump truck cab for the Streets Department. Award contract under Educational Services Commission of New Jersey Cooperative System, equipment for Mason dump truck, Streets Division. Award contract under Sourcewell, online auctioning of surplus municipal property. Award contract under Sourcewell, triaxle truck chassis with Brandon dump body, Streets Department. Authorized change order, 2021 tree removals, various locations. Authorized change order, Valley Community Health, Public Health Nurses. Authorized submission of application for Division on Mental Health and Addiction Services grant funding, Youth Leadership Grant. Reject bids, Zabriskie Shedler House Restoration and Rehabilitation. Authorized release of escrow, the Benjamin. Authorized request for proposals, energy consultant regarding a municipal energy aggregation program. Authorized village engineer to execute an NJDEP treatment works approval permit application for sanitary sewer collection, American Dream Estates, Washington Township. Authorized execution of deed restrictions for affordable housing units, Chestnut Village. Authorized settlement agreement, O'Connor versus Village of Ridgewood. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. With that, we'll go back to public comments, not to exceed 5 minutes per person.
Yeah, Rorick Holiday, 1 Franklin Avenue. For the record, if it says 3 minutes, it is 3 minutes. Okay?
I'm
When
sorry.
I say, if public comments, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, it should be what it says. And I'm 100% behind that. What I tried to do before was after I finished my comments, which I had time to be around 3 minutes, then I saw that he had used my name in what I thought was an erroneous way. I said, stop the clock. I need to address and respond to your comments. I had been asking, I'm the voice in the wilderness who's always asking for things, and unlike the county where I get an answer in a week, it took 9 months for Heather in the last meeting to basically say, oh, the Franklin Avenue will be repaved, sometime this year. However, and again, for the record, I want to give this to Heather so it becomes a record. The kind of a answer I think we should get, we're entitled to, is the kind of an answer that Bergen County responded to me with. All the details. It's the same thing with the master plan. The master plan, I went to 2 or 3 planning board meetings, and they were a joke. They truly were a joke. Everybody was asleep at the dais. Very few people asked questions. And then no one knew where things stood, how much was spent, how much more money was going to be spent, and by when will the thing be over. I think we're entitled to that. The planning master plan has gone on for 3-4 years. I have no idea. So when I ask for that, I don't expect you to do me a favor. I don't want you to do me a favor or to be nice to me. Okay? I want you to do it the right way, which is to make sure the public is informed of some really important developments in the village. The paving of Franklin Avenue, the master plan, any plan for Shedler. You remember when Michael Seaton went on his high horse calling Siobhan a liar when she was right and he was wrong, because there is no plan. And now then you try to find out more of the correspondence with SHPO, all at once they're deliberative documents and we can't get them. There is no plan. There's no big plan. Everything is done by the seat of the pants. You look at the berm. What a shame. What could have been done with Shedler, as far as building a nice wall, as far as building a pedestrian crossing, thinking of it as the Ridgewood Historic Park, if you will. Do you realize, I'd like the engineer to tell me, for instance, the footprint of the berm. I bet you anything, out of the 7 acres, the footprint of the berm will probably occupy as much as an acre. So 1 acre out of 7 is wasted on the berm. If you had a wall, I remember distinctly, it was done on the sly and on the cheap, because there was more material coming out of apartments. Aha, we're going to get those for free. It's going to cost $500,000, $1 million to build the berm. You could have built a wall for it. My point is, there is no plan. Everything is done by the seat of the pants, and this is why Ridgewood is falling behind. So the last thing I want to say is, I don't want any one of you to do me personally a favor. I want you to do the right thing, which is to inform the public as to what's going on, and to be respectful of the public. And also, every time you call a point of order, I'm going to call a point of order, because I'm entitled as much as you are. And when you, frankly, misbehaved last week, the way you treated Paul and Pam, that's embarrassing, frankly. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
by the way, this is for the record. I'm going to give this to, which is the correspondence with the county. Give it to Heather so it goes.
Sure, absolutely. All right, anyone else?
So, Siobhan Cram, Winograd, 274 Ivy Place. Happy birthday to your husband. Happy birthday, Paul. I feel bad I didn't know. I think with respect to the rotation of the chair and the point of order, I think something's missing. So since I'm here, I do agree the conversation, I've been to other municipalities. The work sessions are more collaborative. There's more back and forth. And I do have to agree that things have become a little silencing. There's a lot of pressure to be quiet. There's a lot of commenting after the public comment is closed. That's not beneficial to the commenter. Not to belabor it, but it has to bother you that committees that work for this village are openly and honestly, like from the day, is called a disgrace. That's got to bother some of you. And it has to bother you that people come here to speak and then it turns into a one-sided conversation. Statutes aside, it's not a personality thing. I think that we have fought too long for a position of power where there isn't one. You're a body of equal. And when people come here, they want to be treated well, and they want to be heard, and they want to be respected. And honestly, that's not happening. It's not meant to be critical, but it's not happening. People come here, they say things, they're given promises, they're actually not delivered. It's been months since we've asked for a statement of clarity. You feel kind of a little negative coming and asking for something that you were promised. It's such a weird exchange. So while I'm here, I just think you guys should really explore some other options to make this meeting a little more friendly. With respect to the master plan, I did want to say, because Mahmoud brought up the pedestrian plaza, I hope at this point that if any pictures in the master plan are included of the pedestrian plaza, given your position, they're taken out. We've spent an enormous amount of money on the pedestrian plaza. We've spent an enormous amount of money on the plan, and some of the early images showed dining in the street. They showed corrals, and I'm hoping that this council, however unfortunate your decision, takes our $250 million and reflects it for how you voted. So that's my last thing. I really just hope you guys understand that this conversation, whether you agree or not from the public's, it's stunted. And every time I come up here, you all kind of look at me, sometimes you shake your head, and then you shut the comment and you say something, as last week, pretty terrible. And I think people are looking for more. I think they're looking for more of an exchange, and that's all that I would hope, that if you guys considered rotating the chair, at least you'd get like a different flavor for each of the meetings and you could see how it works. Thanks.
Okay, great.
I'd like to respond. Siobhan, I think you're absolutely right. I think we can do better. I think we can do much better. Sometimes it's hard because, as everyone knows, we all don't agree on everything. How we disagree determines how we move forward. Disagreement is fine. Disagreement is democracy. I'm all for disagreement. It's the tone of the disagreement that we're talking about. And you're absolutely right. We can do better.
So I think everyone can always do better, but I think there should be an awful lot of soul searching, when it comes to talking about doing better. I think there's a meanness. There is a meanness that permeates, whether it's on social media, in this room, on personal Facebook pages, everywhere. In emails, there is a meanness that permeates throughout the village that is stirred by the same group of people. And quite honestly, I lived last year. I lived through it. And I stand by my comments because I think some of it was mean. It was mean. And I think that last week at the end of the meeting was interesting because I learned soon after that event was supposed to happen the week before, but I was at the temple for Holocaust Remembrance, so I think even that's kind of mean. I wish people would just do a lot of soul searching, think about what they're saying, think about what they're doing, and then what they're saying, and maybe just be a little bit nicer. So with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Wait. I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.